Alright, so here's the thing. I used to be all in on Apple. I have I had, this is just a few years on it. This is the iPhone SE. I've used AirPods. I have an Apple Watch on now, but it's just a fitness tracker at this rate. And I, I had, it's a pretty much a VIP pass. I've used Apple Bits here and there, and over time, it's just something I haven't been interested in lately. I mean, I started to feel like Apple's more of a polished prison than a paradise. Don't get me wrong. They make amazing stuff, but as I've stuck around, I've collected a few gripes. Like I said, I had the SE. This is the first iPhone I ever had. The second one, I had the 10R, which the back glass ended up breaking, and repairability was a pain. But I ended up having a friend break their screen, and I had a spare screen because I never ended up fully putting it back together. But as I stuck around, I've collected a few gripes, and now I want to talk to you or walk you through why I'm just kind of over Apple. Yes, I said that. Now, we can start with the battery life, and you guys can either add in or take out. In the comments, I'm kind of curious to everybody's opinion here. But why it's a problem, the battery life. Apple recently increased its out of warranty battery replacement fee for its Pro models. For example, replacing a battery in iPhone 16 Pro or Pro Max now costs $119 up from $99. Meanwhile, people who updated to iOS 26 are reporting significant battery drain, with devices losing charge fast after the update. Apple claims that this drop is normal after a major update. The phone is just re-indexing and doing background tasks. On the bright side, Apple promises AI-based battery management. And if you're like me, you're tired of the damn word AI. It's not a word, but it's the letters. And more than that, I'm sick and tired of AI. You're sick and tired of AI, hopefully. And yeah, this AI sucks. That's my personal opinion on it. But the whole AI feature is supposed to come out this month of this year, which is September 2025. It will learn your usage patterns and scale down power hungry features in real time. That said, this future fix feels like a band aid for a wound that never quite healed. People bought these phones under very different promises. So, yeah, my phone might last a few more years as long as I don't mind paying $119 for a new battery or letting Apple's AI babysit how to use it so I don't kill it fast. But it's just disappointing. I remember Apple being like, "Oh, this is the new next generation." And it's like, yeah, I hope it's the new next generation. I wouldn't want to buy a older generation thing. Now, one of my biggest gripes with Apple is the repairability. Like I've worked on multiple phones. I've worked on this phone. I've replaced the battery in this. I've worked on multiple phones. I've worked on an S21 Ultra, Google Pixel 3 XL, Google Pixel 3. I had a Pixel 7 Pro, which I upgraded to after the iPhone XR. I've had actually no, from the XR I went to a S21 Ultra. Then from 21 Ultra I went to a Pixel 7 Pro, and now I'm on a Pixel 9 Pro XL. But yeah, but why it's a problem, repairability. I've worked on plenty, so there's my experience. Apple has made some moves. The iPhone 16, 16 Plus got re-engineered internally to make a battery service easier. The, Partly because of the EU regulations that require better replaceability. Also, in new white paper, Apple said that starting in 2024, iPhones will be better support for third-party displays and batteries, which I have yet to see. You can't put a new phone battery or screen in without Apple throwing a warning on your screen saying, "Hey, hey, hey, that's not right. You can't use this. You can't use this." But yeah, they also expanded their self-service repair to Europe, but Apple still uses uses parts pairing in some cases. Meanwhile, even third-party parts might not function fully like the originals, like I was just giving an example of. Another example would be the Touch ID on, I think the last phone to use Touch ID was like the iPhone 8 that had the last one to have a home button. I'm not 100% correct on that. I don't know. And while Apple claims it's improving, critics argue it's doing just enough to look good, but not to give real users real autonomy. Now, great Apple, now I can buy a third-party battery, and my phone will maybe tell me how healthy it is. Progress, but don't worry. They'll still know exactly what I replaced, so they can keep me in a very tight leash. Now, another problem is the cost of staying in the Apple Club. Why it's a problem? The Apple ecosystem still encourages deep commitment. To really get it, you're tempted to own multiple Apple devices, iPhone, Mac, Watch, AirPods. They all just work together. But that just works comes at a cost, not just financially. You lock yourself in. Want to try a non-Apple laptop? How will your iPhone talk to it? Want to buy a cheaper AirPods? AirDrop and seamless switching go poof. With repairs cost rising, like $119 battery change, the long-term cost of just staying Apple is getting heavier. It's like a cult, but instead of robes, we have charging cords, and instead of worship, we subsidize Apple's service department whenever we dare to change one piece. Is it innovation, or is it just repetition? People often complain about Apple's new phones are just the same old iPhones, but slightly tweaked. While Apple touts its sustainability and device longevity, sometimes it just feels like they promise innovation but deliver incremental improvements. Some of the big repair longevity features, like better battery service, feel more like compliance with a regulation that was a genuine promise to make the devices last. Ladies and gentlemen, the new iPhone, now with 0.5% more performance, the new shade of beige, and the battery might last a little bit longer if you don't use it to scroll for 4 hours straight. Revolutionary. It's revolutionary. Control over parts, still very much Apple's way. Why it's a problem? Even with third-party part support improving, Apple's system-level controls are still present. There's a risk third-party parts might not show a warning or not fully function the way Apple parts do. Apple's environmental and repairability costs claim improvements, new design for faster battery removal, better support for third-party parts, and repair assistant tool in iOS 18. But critics argue that user freedom is still limited. You can repair, but Apple still retains leverage on what parts count in a functional full-feature phone. An example of repairability with Apple, I repaired an iPhone 14 Pro Max. That was the biggest pain in my mother butthole. Like, genuinely, I had to replace the back glass on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But you can't do that without the ultra-wide 5G band service BS that's on the side of the phone. You can't do that without completely screwing that up. You can't remove it. You completely bork the 5G antenna. It's fully soldered on, so it doesn't make sense. I've repaired multiple iPhones. The regular style Lego connectors are just simple. They work just fine. Why can't they do it with a 5G antenna? It makes no sense how they can just get away with, oh, well, we can do this for the battery connector, but we can do this for the CPU, we can do this for the display, we can do this for this, we can do this for that. But the 5G antenna is not just detachable, so you can't replace the whole case of it without completely borking the whole system. So you can't even use your 5G when you do replace it. Rant over with that. Now, the only reason why Apple is changing is because of regulatory pressure. Not because they want to, it's just because they have to, especially with the EU regulations that have been placed on Apple in the first place. Like I said, a lot of the repairability improvements are tied to the EU law. Apple's changes for the iPhone 16 come in part to comply with new regulations, USB-C for point, which is crazy because why wouldn't they just use it when they already have it on the damn MacBooks? I know I wasn't struggling for the word MacBooks, I swear. When they have it, the 2015, they had it on their 2015 MacBook, not even Pro. I don't even know what the whole scheme with that is. They can put it on their whole laptop, but oh, God forbid you make it work on a phone. 2015-16 dongle gang. Oh, here's a laptop, but oh, here, you need a dongle. Not just to charge it. So if you want to charge it and plug a mouse in at the same time, well, good luck, buddy. Because the only other port you have is the damn headphone jack, which they ended up taking away from us. Never forget. So there's a tension. Apple says it cares about longevity, but critics see a pattern of doing the minimum to look like they care. So, good news. Apple's making their batteries easy to replace because they have to, and also because gaudy profit margins are less fun when you get fined for being stubborn. So, final thoughts. Alright, so what's the deal? Apple's not evil. They're brilliant in what they do. Their products are often great. But somewhere in the last few years, they decided that polish, perpetually profit repairability style and substance, they talk about longevity, but too often on their terms, they support repair as long as it doesn't interfere too much with their control, and they raise costs in a way that makes leaving their ecosystem feel harder than staying. I get the appeal, but for me, I want tech that trusts me, not tech that tethers me. I want to feel like I own my own device, which I did with this. I actually could play Fortnite Mobile on this thing back in 2016 or whenever it came out on this. So yeah, maybe I'm not an Apple hater, just an Apple tired. Because think about it, what's the newest innovation they've had recently? For that, I'm not even sure. So thanks for listening to my rant. If you're Apple tired too, or maybe you love Apple and I'm completely, totally wrong in my opinions and my factual use of tearing phones apart and repairability, just let me know. Drop a comment. Let's talk. And if you want more of these videos, hit subscribe. I promise no more Bendgate throwbacks for now. Unless Apple wants to keep doing it. So, enjoy. Closing thoughts. That's it. I haven't used Apple in years. The only thing I've used is the AirPods, and even then, they got good sound. And that's why there's so many clones of the AirPods. But yeah, overall, Apple, they've done some great things, but they've also stagnated, and they haven't gone too far outside of the normal in a long time. Like my Pixel 9 Pro XL has a temperature sensor on it. Like, it's crazy. It's a neat gimmick, but I don't use it. But is it nice that they're still innovating stuff? Yeah, for sure. They're trying out different things. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, it doesn't. But it's still entertaining to look and see that, like, I can check the object temperature of something. Like I said, that's innovation. Apple hasn't done innovation except for when it's necessary and they don't have a choice. So, like I said, do what you will. Let me know what you think. I'm curious about other people's opinions, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.